UFC Vegas 42, aka UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. Welcome to the main card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan, I go by the name of Harris, and as usual, we're giving you our fight-by-fight breakdown, fight-by-fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective, here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and sticking around to the end of the video, you get some parlay action as well. If you have not checked out our prelim card prediction, press pause, go ahead and check that one out, and then report back here. And please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video and make sure you participate in the comments. Now, like I said, main card prediction, 12 overall fights on this card. 7 of them were in the prelims. Therefore, we're going to get to the last 5 fights that make up the main card. And we're going to start with fight number 1. Fight number 1 is Song Yadong taking on Julio Arce. Song Yadong, he beat Casey Kenny via split decision in August. That was a pretty good win. Pretty good, well-rounded striker, technically sound in terms of his boxing. Mixes in the kicks really well. He's patient, has good combinations, good right straight, good solid jab too. Decent movement on the feet, although he's more likely to keep the fight within range. And, very solid in his last showing. His combinations were good. His striking speed was faster than I thought it was. Showed really good toughness in that fight, good cardio. And again, had a really solid jab that worked in his favor. Julio Arce, on the other hand, he beat Andre Ewell in July. Again, a pretty good win on his end as well. As a southpaw, decent stand-up. He'll mix it up pretty well, good movement, pretty light on the feet, fights from the outside, decent combinations, good striking speed, pretty good natural kickboxer. Keeps the fight on the feet, yet he is able to be outstruck. I think that's going to be a very important factor in this fight. Somewhat timid at times, doesn't really throw enough strikes, in my opinion. Solid ground game, keeps his opponent on the ground if that were to happen, but only half a takedown per fight. I'm not looking for that to be a pretty active component of this fight overall. Like I mentioned, Julio Arce can be outstruck, and I think that's what's going to happen here. I think Song Yadong is coming off of a pretty good win in Casey Kenny, and I think Casey Kenny would beat Julio Arce. So without Julio Arce having a clear advantage with the ground, this is a striking match that should be technically a step down in competition compared to the striking match that was Casey Kenny. Song Yadong, I think he will continue the momentum. I think he'll get the job done here. Minus 135. I'm actually really liking the odds. Song Yadong is going to be my pick.
Yeah, Song Yadong is looking good lately. Yeah, he's tough, man. This guy has power. He's that forward pressure. He has the center of the octagon most of the time, and he could take a shot. But I just feel Julio Arce, I think he's the more technical boxer. I think he's the smarter boxer, the smarter striker. I give Yadong Song that power, and I think that he can put him out. But I'm gonna go with the underdog. I'm gonna roll the dice here. I just feel Arce has the better boxing. If this gets to the mat, I think Arce is good on the mat, has that black belt. But I think Arce, his boxing, I think it's too technical here. But I think Yadong Song definitely is a good boxer as well. I think it's a matter of who lands on who first. I think this is a fight that I will not bet because I think that this is a coin flip fight. But I just think Arce is a bit more precise. He might get that land before him. He's the underdog. So I'm going to go with Julio Arce in a fight that I think is pretty close.
Fight number 2. Now, of course, ESPN has it all out of whack. So I'm going to flip to Tapology here. Fight number 2 is Roman Dolidze taking on Kyle Daukaus. A very tough fight to call here. Of course, we know this was supposed to be the rematch of Kevin Holland versus Kyle Daukaus, but I believe Holland had to pull out, if I'm not mistaken. So entering Roman Dolidze, we know he beat Loreno Staropoli in June. We know he has that smothering wrestling, going to bring that Georgian style. We have questioned his IQ in the past. We have questioned his cardio tank in the past. But in that Staropoli fight, at the very least, although he still looked basic, he did look a little bit more composed. He did have a little bit better IQ. He did play to his strengths more, which is the takedowns. Still looked a little tired in that fight. but definitely was composed enough to continue to use his strengths. His stand-up is fairly basic. Definitely can be outstruck. We've seen that in almost all of his fights. So again, we know his strength, we know his specialty. Daukaus, had that no contest versus Kevin Holland back in October. We know he's a pretty tall southpaw, only a 1 inch height advantage on this one. Actually, no reach advantage either. Two big guys going at it in terms of this weight division. Throws long strikes regardless, though. Throws long jabs. When he gets in rhythm, he can really start to piece his strikes together. Good boxing. We know he has good grappling as well. BJJ black belt, good in the clinch. 85% takedown defense, which is going to be very important in this fight. Ultimately, it's a very tough fight to call. We know Dolidze's path to victory with the clinch, with the takedowns. I do feel Daukaus is well equipped to deal with that. Of course, we know his grappling prowess and his takedown defense ability as well. But the key in this fight is really going to be, what is the difference in strength? Both of these guys are tall for the middleweight division, but Dolidze still looks jacked, whereas Daukaus is more of a slim type of figure. So is there going to be a difference in strength? That's going to be the key. But I do think Daukaus can pick him apart on the feet, especially in the later rounds, even if Dolidze does show some dominance with takedowns early in the fight. This is a split decision type of fight. I can see Dolidze winning round one. I can see Dolidze winning the first minute or two of round two. I think after that point, Daukaus will start to pick him apart. So it's really a question of how is that round two judged? I think more judges, you mentioned it on our prelim video, if I'm not mistaken, strikes are a little bit more valued right now in the eyes of the UFC judges. I think that's going to swing round two in Daukaus's favor with at least two of the judges. And as a result of that, I think Daukaus is going to pull out the win here. So I'm going with Daukaus. I believe he is a minor underdog on this fight, if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check. No, he's actually a pretty big favorite, minus 250. I think that's a little too steep at that point, but again, in making the pick, I'm going with Daukaus.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, minus 250, that's crazy. Now I picked Daukaus to beat the loudmouth guy. What's his name again? Kevin Holland. And I figured that the grappling, he's going to eventually tie him up and utilize that grappling. And Holland's a slim guy like Daukaus, and Daukaus actually had the strength advantage in that fight. And I felt that was a big factor in that fight. It was that Daukaus is going to be able to pull him to the mat. Obviously, we know what happened in that fight. The fight was a no contest. But I think in this fight, I think Dolidze is going to be able to be the stronger guy in the clinch. He's just going to hold him against the cage for 1 or 2 rounds. He's being a bit better with his cardio because he does not have good cardio. And I'm with you that Daukaus can easily run away with the fight second half of the fight. But I think Roman Dolidze is too strong here. I think he's going to be able to hold him against the cage, do enough to win the fight here, do enough to win a decision. So I'm going to go with Roman Dolidze. I can't believe he's such a big underdog. Daukaus should definitely win this fight based on his last performance. But I think at those odds, and when you really compare what these fighters do and where they're good at, I think this is a good spot to take a shot at the dog here. I think Dolidze has a path here. So I'm going to go Roman Dolidze to power his way through a win here.
Fight number 3, we have Felicia Spencer taking on Leah Letson. ESPN does have that fight correctly up, so I will revert back to that for visual purposes. Felicia Spencer, she lost a split decision to Norma Dumont in May. Big and strong physically for this 145-pound division, especially with her style. Great at clinching you against the cage and keeping you there. She is a threat to land a takedown. Don't be fooled by her 0.48 takedown defense. Good top control, good ground and pound, good ability to stay busy and just stay on top of you and win that round. She is a BJJ black belt. She does have a Taekwondo black belt as well. Otherwise, pretty basic MMA stand-up. Otherwise, for Leah Letson, she was the Ultimate Fighter 28 competitor. She did fight on that finale card. She beat Julia Stolyarenko back in 2018, and that was the last time that she fought. So over 3 years since that fight, Southpaw, fairly basic stand-up in her own right. decent usage of calf kicks, decent side kicks specifically, decent in and out movement. I do think that Leah Letson probably the slightly better striker. Again, Felicia Spencer is somewhat basic there, but I like Spencer pretty much everywhere else here. Plus level of competition, of course, is a big factor in this fight. I think Spencer's going to be pretty hungry. She's on a 2-fight losing streak at this point. She was 8-1 at one point. She was a titled challenger at one point, and now they're giving her a newcomer from the Ultimate Fighter at that. I think she might be a little disrespected by that 2-fight losing streak. I think she's going to be hungry. This is a step down in competition for her, and I think she gets the job done.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one, man. I think it comes down to if Spencer can get this fight to the mat, and then she has good fights when she does that. And in this fight, I think she can get it to the mat. So I'm going to go Felicia Spencer to utilize that grappling, and I expect her to get the win here. So Felicia Spencer is my pick.
Moving on to our co-main event and fight number 4, Ben Rothwell taking on Marcos Rogerio de Lima. Ben Rothwell, he beat Chris Barnett in May. I mean, we know the Ben Rothwell style at this point. He's coming forward at all times, has a good chin, almost has that zombie style of stand-up. He'll hit, he'll get hit. He has a huge body, so if he gets on top of you, the round is pretty much over. Rogerio de Lima, he beat Maurice Green in May. He has that explosive hand, he has explosive hands, good kicks, unloads in combinations, especially early in the fight. He has that solid clinch as well. He can land takedowns. We see 1 takedown per fight. He can keep guys down, pretty big in his own right. Keep control on top, decent ground and pound. Tough fight here. The odds show it, -150 for Ben Rothwell, +125 for Marcos Rogerio de Lima. We know de Lima is very dangerous early in the fight. This might be a bet live type of scenario. I think that might be where you get the best bang for your buck, because of course it is still a heavyweight beware and anything can happen. We know de Lima has that ground approach, but Ben Rothwell, a super strong 70% takedown defense. I think is very respectable, and I think de Lima is going to have problems getting him down. With this one, I think I'd rather trust Ben Rothwell in sort of a war of attrition, especially in the later rounds, rather than relying on Marcos Rogerio de Lima as the threat early in the fight, as the early threat fighter. I think Rothwell handles the storm. He has the chin to do it. He has the big body to do it. I think as de Lima tires out, Rothwell will be able to start taking advantage of that, exactly the way it went in the Chris Barnett fight, although, of course, 2 very different fighters. So I'm going with Ben Rothwell here. I'm not betting on this at all. This is heavyweight beware. These are 2 guys that have a lot of losses on their records as well. I would not want to put any coin on either of them. But again, for the channel, I am picking Ben Rothwell.
Yeah, it's a tough fight because when you look at Ben, you got to know this guy can take a shot. He's hard to put away. And Marcos' best way to win this fight likely would be to knock Ben out. So that's a path that's going to be hard to pass for Rogerio. Ben's a big guy, but I'm actually going to go with the dog here. I'll be quick here. I like Marcos Rogerio de Lima here. I think he's the better striker. I think he's going to be able to keep this on the feet. Ben doesn't usually go for a lot of takedowns lately. As he's getting old, he's 40 years old now, so he's the older guy in this fight. Marco has really good leg kicks. I think Ben has a slower pace to his fighting style. Yes, he does have the center of the cage. He does march his opponents down, but the pace of these fights are really slow. So I think that's going to help Marcos not lose his cardio, and he's going to be able to fight back. And I think he's going to have the better shots. I think if they both throw shots at each other, if they're playing tit for tat, I think Marcos is going to have the better visual shots for the judges. And I think he has more pop. So I'm going to go with Marcos. I'm going to take the underdog here to put up an upset here. I think he is sharp striking. I think he could knock out Ben. He's getting old. So I'm going to go Marcos here to get this done.
Let's move on to our main event of the evening, fight number 5 on this main card. Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez. Now, usually main events, I should say, take me a little bit longer. But this one, I'll keep it pretty quick. First of all, we see Max Holloway is a huge favorite at minus 625. I think for good reason, but I think that's still, of course, very steep. It still is a fight. Max Holloway beat Calvin Kattar in January. We know how much of an impressive striking performance that was. Good pace, good control of the octagon, good complete striking, high IQ. Again, has that high pace, very complete striker. Probably one of the best striker the UFC has ever seen. Expect him to keep the fight on the feet as well. Yair Rodriguez, his last fight was 2 years ago. He beat Jeremy Stephens in October 2019. Good movement in his own right, good overall striking in his own right. He's pretty light on the feet, has that diverse range of strikes, including, punches and kicks regularly in his offense, effortlessly throwing things like spinning kicks, very diverse offensive skill set, solid combinations as a result of that, good distance control as well. I think he can also switch stance, and I expect to see that in this fight. But again, this fight prediction is as simple as mentioning that as good as Rodriguez is, Max Holloway to me is simply the better striker. And I think he's going to get the job done as a result of being that. This is also, his striking is cleaner. It's more active. It's more proven in a 5-round setting compared to Yair Rodriguez. Again, my pick is going to be Max Holloway here. I think he gets the job done.
Yeah, let's be quick, man. I think Max actually gets a finish. Could be the later rounds, because as Max keeps landing those strikes, your body can't handle the shots because he's throwing a lot of shots per round. And I think that Yair Rodriguez, obviously in a kickboxing match, anything can happen. One strike could end the fight either way. I think Yair Rodriguez has the kicking advantage. He has the first 2 rounds, 3 rounds to get something done. But I think as the fight goes on, if he doesn't finish Max Holloway, Max is just going to pile on the jabs and the straights. And I think it's going to put a toll on Yair, and he's going to eventually get the submission. And when you're looking at the props on that submission for Max, you're going to flip your money. And I'm pretty sure he finishes this guy with the accumulation of strikes. So I'm going to go Max Holloway to get this done inside the distance.
Let's take it to Vegas. Speaking of those props, we're just going to actually stick to kind of the basics here. We're going to start with an underdog. Who do you think as an underdog has the best shot or worth the most value as an underdog pick?
I think when we look at the underdogs, Marcos de Lima.
All right, Marcos de Lima, or de Lima, I should say, plus 125. If I were looking at an underdog here, I'm probably looking at, I know I picked Daukaus, but I do agree with the point that you mentioned earlier that, if Dolidze can implement his style, especially being the stronger fighter, at plus 170 at that, or as bad as plus 200, definitely a lot of value there as a dog, and could be worth some money there.
Daukaus is the favorite.
What's that?
Daukaus is the favorite.
Yeah, I'm saying Dolidze as the underdog has the best shot at winning.
I'm with
you. Picking Daukaus. Yeah.
I get it. Sorry.
All good. And then in terms of favorite picks, who are you taking a look at?
Favorite picks of the night. I'm sorry, the main event. I like Felicia Spencer to get that done. Max Holloway. I'm going to throw that on there. And wow, like I'd have to go through the prelim, and I have to take Sean Woodson.
All right, so those 3 were Sean Woodson. There he is. Those 3 would be a plus 102. $100 in that case will return $202. For the bigger bettors, $250 will return $505. But again, at that point, that's 3 fighters that really have a high likelihood of getting the job done there. So not too mad at that. In terms of my favorites, I will say Holloway as well. I will say Spencer as well. I am actually going to put Yadong Song on there. I know Julio Arce is live. I know that's your pick. But I really like what Yadong Song showed me in that Casey Kenny fight. And I'm kind of making that a confident pick based off of that alone. So those three fights would be plus 161. $100 will return 261. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return 654. Let's sign off on that note. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel at Boxing MMA Picks. Please make sure that you hit the thumbs up on this video, on our prelim video, and pretty much on all of our videos. Why not? Hit that notification bell as well. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks. Let us know what your picks are. And if there is specific parlay action or prop action that you're considering, drop that in the comments as well. And we would be more than happy to provide some specific input regarding that. We are going to officially sign off. That being said, this has been UFC Vegas 42, aka UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, the main card prediction video. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. We are Boxing MMA Picks. And as usual, let's get this money.
Let's get it.